Hello there. You're welcome to News Central. I'm Kemeni Amano.
And I am Mawina Egbeta. Coming up this afternoon, developing this 5 CSOs file an interlocutory injunction seeking to restrain government from awarding timber logging contracts in globally significant biodiversity areas in Ghana. We have details for you.
And also to come, over 7 communities around the River Oti in the Saboba district of the northern region cut off after weeks of torrential rains, which has wreaked havoc and affected livelihoods.
A lot later, CEO of Cocobot, Joseph Boahiedu, touts his leadership qualities, which he claims has helped revive and brought Cocobot back to winning ways, but the minority disagrees. Those are headlines for you. News Central is starting right now, where 5 civil society groups are praying on Accra High Court to restrain the Lands Ministry and Forestry Commission from proceeding with plans to declassify globally significant biodiversity areas. The CSOs are seeking a perpetual injunction to prevent any transactions, contracts, or undertakings that grants commercial timber rights in these areas. The organization's primary concern is that the unlawful issuance of timber utilization contracts without parliamentary ratification, amongst many other things, breaches or raises significant concern. Arocha Ghana, which is one of the many CSOs, which include others also include Trapping Boss Ghana, are making the argument that it undermines the country's environmental sustainability plans. Hence, some action must be taken in that regard, reason for which they are praying the court to, amongst many other things, grant quite a number of reliefs in this application that has been filed at the High Court. And for starters, they want a declaration that the declassification of globally significant biodiversity areas is, 1, unlawful, a declaration that the issuance of contracts without parliamentary ratification as well is unlawful, which is the instance that they make the case that the Lands and the Forestry Commission has been engaged in these 30 biodiversity areas in order for a perpetual injunction restraining the Lands Ministry, the Forestry Commission from any transaction involving granting timber licenses in listed areas, and an order restraining the Lands Ministry, the Forestry Commission, from further declassifying globally significant biodiversity areas. So these are the concerns, and it's interesting the time it's coming up. Let's get on to Zoom and speak to campaigner for EcoCare Ghana Limited, one of the CSOs who's making the arguments this afternoon, and engage them, pick their thoughts as to exactly what the cause of concern is. Many thanks for speaking to us, sir. Let's start off with these biodiversity areas, 30 that you've identified, and you say they are under threat of logging should they proceed with these contracts being granted.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Just as you rightly said, about 20 years ago, Ghana signed up to the CBD, the Convention on Biodiversity Protection. And as part of that signatory, we set out to put some of our forests under perpetual protection, which we call the GSBAs. What has happened over the years is that these GSBAs have been protected. In total, there are about 30 of them. They have been protected from logging, from mining, and from a lot of encroachment. Unfortunately, under this current minister, there have been attempts to, I'm not even saying attempts, they have actually gone ahead to declassify certain portions in some forest reserves or in some GSBs, partial declassification. Others, the total forest reserve has been declassified to allow for logging, mining, and other activities into these protected areas, and they are significant because globally there are certain species that are in these areas that do not exist anywhere, and Ghana has committed to protect these species. So that is the significance of these areas. And now let's get into the merits of the arguments we are making. Not too long ago, the Supreme Court did some ruling under the Newmont agreement, where they said that a contract entered into by government cannot be binding unless it has been ratified by Parliament. What we are seeing from this actions of the minister is that they are going around Parliament to declassify these areas, then award timber utilizing contracts to certain companies without recourse to Parliament. So that is one of the angles we are praying the High Court to put a stop to, because once it starts, you don't know where it's going to end.
Right.
Then in furtherance to that, we are also saying that they should not be allowed to destroy these GSBAs. They are very, very important for humanity, not only for Ghana, but for the world. And Ghana should not be allowed to destroy these areas. So those are the asks that we are asking the High Court.
Has the respective agencies been served, and outside of the suit, what's been the conversation with regards to the concerns you've raised with these two critical state agencies responsible for protecting the country's forest reserves?
It's funny you should ask that what has been the responses. I can bet you my last penny that there are certain elements within the Forestry Commission who are excited about this action that civil society are taking. They don't agree with it, but because they are members or they are employees of the state, they cannot talk about it. So we have really received good commitments and good information from parts of Forestry Commission who are very, very excited about this. Unfortunately, the leadership of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, are adamant, and they are refusing to see reason. And they are still going ahead. We understand that we are in the electioneering period, and one of the easiest ways of funding parties are through timber, through mining and all that. But we should look at the future. What legacy are we leaving for our children? And so those are the questions we are asking the minister and his advisors, that they should look beyond the short to medium term gains and look at the long term havoc that they'll be causing to the future children.
Last question, these declassifications which we're seeing, how closely linked are they to LI 2462, that legislation you in civil society have had cause to raise concerns over? We know the government has directed the suspension of its implementation, but just a curious question as to whether or not it is contributing to what it is that we're seeing.
Well, the LI 2264, that one was basically for mining, for environmental protection and mining. It has nothing to do with logging, and that point needs to be made very clear. It has nothing to do with logging. But one can try and make linkages and say that if you are given access to a certain part of the forest reserve to be logged, what we know is that once logging happens, it opens the space, and then illegal miners, illegal timber operators begin to encroach those areas, and it could lead to some of the bases for applying for mining permits. One of them, people make the argument that the place has already been destroyed and that there is mineral deposit there, so we want to go there and mine. So they are not linked totally, but you can do some connections and some linkages if you want to be mischievous. You can do that.
Right then, Obed, thank you. That's Obed Owusu, is one of the spokespersons for EcoCare Ghana, the one of 5 CSOs who have filed the suit seeking a perpetual injunction on the Lands Ministry and the Forestry Commission from going ahead with declassifying biodiversity areas and then issuing contracts for logging. Now, this afternoon, we're learning of
a multiple casualty road accident involving passengers aboard a VIP bus traveling from Kumasi to Samreboy after the vehicle lost control and landed in the river at Kwapia on the Akokore-Obuasi road. The unfortunate incident, which occurred last night, has left many residents frightened. This is the second major road accident in the Ashanti region in less than 5 days. The first occurred at Atredie on the Kumasi-Accra road, killing 7 people. Growing fatalities on the country's major road has become a huge concern for many. This rather tragic story. Ibrahim Abubakar is our correspondent following up on the story. He's joining us for a bit more on this. Ibrahim, listen, we are hearing also that about a dozen people died in this, multiple casualty road accident. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, exactly. So the confirmation we are having from the police is that 12 persons died. 11 died on the spot, whilst one other died at the hospital was receiving treatment. And this incident happened last night. In fact, there is a curve on that stretch when you get to Kwapia from Akokere to Obuasi. This is a place that is notable for road accidents because of the sharp curve. And usually when drivers get there, they do not slow down. You realize them still moving at a top speed. And this time around, unfortunately, the bus had to fall in a ditch. And this is a bus that was carrying 49 passengers. In fact, the information we are having from some of the victims who survived in the bus was that they were earlier complaining that the driver had taken more than the number. So he had exceeded the number. The bus was supposed to take around 42, but he ended up taking 49. And there were even arguments with him and some passengers, and unfortunately that even resulted in that because he wasn't having full concentration whilst driving, and this tragic accident happened. So police have begun with their investigation, and like you rightly said, just some few days back 7 others also lost their lives at Atredie, something that is worrying to stakeholders in the road safety sector. Mind you, within January and June alone, Ashanti region, more than 300 people have lost their lives in road accidents. And this is a time road safety authorities are even stepping up and campaign and education on the need to observe road safety regulations so that we minimize these road carnages on our road.
Very well. And Ibrahim, you had a conversation with a victim of this accident. Let's take a listen to her, and then we'll come back to wrap up on our conversation.
So let me call you find what the material say can't be the top speed about to amanamuha. And I dream can rush by no be any around. And I'm saying a Paul film that friend me go against them no films. Should be as you had to buy a VIP bus. I thought and Suamna Mua say. Nay, forcing a breaky grass in the right inside. But your car if you must be snap for summer boy. But of for be war, I carry junction hand more. Of far Nippon almost a bus no for overload. Now, no man so they go bus no in 15 no. In case of emergency no, or moon to me, the moon to me pee, into only no money be there. And into only passengers and driver and the passengers no there. Air poor car anymore. Where did you want them? So, oh, check the near question at you. I could be passing at them. And the car no, a 2 year share. I'm the Monte Carlo. I am near my 2 years. If I saw like a bomb, and more down when the money lose.
Indeed, Ibrahim, much of it you already spoke about. But, if I remember correctly, the Atredie incident was also a VIP bus involved. Well, it would appear that we lost Ibrahim on there. Ibrahim will join us again soon, and perhaps would wrap up on this one before we look at other stories. In the meantime, on what's going on?
Most communities around the River Oti in the Saboba district of the northern region have been cut off, affecting livelihoods of the people. One person reportedly has died following the incident. The Oti River is said to have overflown its banks following a series of torrential rains over the past weeks. Business activities in the district have been greatly affected as commuters remain stranded. The situation has a burden, or has put a burden on both human and food security, as the Saboba district happens to be one of the region's largest producers of yam and other food crops. Christopher Bawku is following up on this particular incident for us. He's joining us right now with a bit more in terms of details. Chris, help us understand the level of impact and what it's been doing to residents so far.
Yes, so Marvin, I must say that it is really affecting residents, especially in the affected communities. You know, the Saboba area has always, every year, experienced flooding situation as a result of an overflow of the Oti River, and this year is no exception. As we speak, several tracts of farmlands have been totally submerged. And you know that earlier this year, there was a dry spell that affected farming in the area. And this time, the floods has come again. So these people have been affected twice with natural disasters within the year. And so it is really, really impacting on their lives, especially security. They are unable to go to their farms to actually even bring food to their house who can eat. They are unable to also go to the market to sell or buy anything that they will need for their daily activities. And so it's been sort of a disturbance to these affected victims. Some opinion leaders have been speaking to this issue and the need for the Saboba area to be given some attention when it comes to the prevention of flooding in the area. Let's take a listen to one of the opinion leaders, Emmanuel Fortin, who is also contesting as an independent candidate for the Saboba constituency.
From the overseas communities like Kucha, Samboli, Kutoli to Kparaba area, they are all flooded. Farmlands have been submerged under water. And if you go to Wapuli area, this is the same story. Even from here, when you cross, before you get to Nambiri, it's the same story. So that is the situation Saboba as a district is facing. I wish Parliament was in recess and our MP can ask urgent questions in Parliament to raise the plight of our people. But unfortunately, we have always played politics with the problems of Saboba. I'm calling on the good people of Saboba to depoliticize our development work. And all these things are happening because we have no constructed good accessible roads where we can give good covers, put good bridges so that the water can flow well. And I understand this, that government is a continuous process. So the blame game between NDC and MPP, I think it is time to stop this blame game. Come together as Sabobians and look at how we can constructively put our developmental agenda on the map so that we can have a voice up there where government can listen to our plans.
Chris, just briefly, what's been the response of NADMO and other security agencies to the development?
Yes, so NADMO has actually confirmed this situation, including the death of one person. But the Northern Regional NADMO director told me in a telephone conversation that he's waiting for a full report from the NADMO director in the district so that he will quickly also submit it to Accra for them to take a decision on that. So as it stands now, NADMO has not positively responded to the plight of the people. And like Emmanuel Fortin said, the people are really in dire need of support because the area is totally cut off. Marwena.
Right then, Chris, many thanks for those details. That's Christopher Marco, is my colleague, following up on the development there. We're going to stay in the region still for you this afternoon.
Now, residents of Bawku Central are appealing to private and public institutions who have closed down their businesses in the region due to the chieftaincy conflicts to reconsider their action since relative peace has been restored to the area. Marking the annual Damba Festival on the theme sustaining relative peace in Bawku, the role of the youth, the man proceeds during this year's Damba Festival reiterated the need to maintain peace for development. Bawku and its environs are currently enjoying relative peace, with businesses and social life bouncing back. With the current peace in the area, this year's Damba Festival was celebrated without any tension, and it is as the result of all residents' commitment to peace. Let's have a quick chat with our Upper East Region correspondent, Tanko Mohammed Rabiu, who's joining us via Zoom for a bit more on this. Tanko, good afternoon to you. First of all, tell us how these conflicts have affected development there.
Thank you very much. As you are aware,
well, it appears we cannot hear Tanko, but Tanko is our Upper East Region correspondent who's telling us that residents in Bawku are calling for the return of businesses there while they celebrated the Damba Festival this year. Let's take a listen to some of these residents.
It's a great honor to stand before you on this joyous occasion of the Damba Festival. This celebration marks not only a time to reflect on our rich cultural heritage, but also to acknowledge the progress we have made so far as a community, especially in the pursuit of peace and development. The theme for this year's celebration, sustaining relative peace in Bawku, the role of the youth, is both timely and crucial. Bawku has a long and a proud history, but like all societies, we have faced our share of challenges. One of the most significant challenges is the area of maintenance of peace and security. Over the years,
well, that's a resident of Bawku Central during the Damba Festival. We'll give you more on that in later broadcasts. Right now, remember, we're still under 55 days to the elections of 2024, and we are your election command center. Let's bring you some numbers today. We're learning from Global Info Analytics that John Dramani Mahama is maintaining his lead in the national poll in what is likely to be a one-touch win in the general elections. Let's look at those numbers now. John Mahama is in the lead with 53.1% according to this poll by Global Info Analytics. Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the current vice president and flag bearer of the NPP, behind him with about 39% if elections were held today. Nana Kwame Bediako overtakes Alan Kojo Chairman now at 55.2%, and Alan follows in the far at 1.7%. All the other candidates on the ballot, there are 13 of them, will all come to about 1%. We are now joined by Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, Musa Dankwa. Musa, it would appear that it hasn't changed much, has it?
No, thank you very much for having me. This is a different sample from the one we released about 2 weeks ago.
I see.
This is entirely telephone polls.
Right, so tell us a bit more about this one.
Sorry?
I'm asking that you tell us a bit more. We've seen the numbers. Tell us what could be contributing to these numbers.
I think it is a fundamental issue of the economy. If you look at people who are worried about the economy, they are voting for John Mahama. And indeed, if you look at the question where we ask them about their living conditions in the last 12 months, 55% said it's getting worse. So I think the economy is driving the polling numbers as we've seen it. And this has been consistent in every poll that we've conducted.
I see. But let's also look at the difference. That, I mean, comparatively, how does this differ from the poll 2 weeks ago? 53.1% and 39% between what we will consider, or those we will consider the two front runners in the election.
Now, the current poll appears to be much better for John Mahama compared to the October poll. And we've realized that people are more comfortable and confident in speaking to us directly on the telephone than in the field. So we expect the numbers for John Mahama to be higher compared to the field survey. So this is consistent with what we believe in.
And I'm going to ask you the same with Nana Kwame Bediako and Alan John Kojo Tremanting. What is going on there? We see that Nana Kwame is now really overtaking Alan.
Yeah, if you look at his numbers have come from Ashanti region, Eastern region, Puno East, and Central region. He's doing quite well among younger voters, people below 30 years of age, and that seems to be his magic.
I see. But so, I mean, that Ashanti victory, so to speak, for Nana Kwame Bediako, the fact that he's able to make inroads in the Ashanti region, could that also be a contributory factor to why this poll is showing that Dr. Mamadou Bawumia is about 39% behind John Dramani Mahama? Oh, excuse me, it's about 39%, comes in second to John Dramani Mahama.
If I get you right, you're referring to Ashanti region numbers, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, Ashanti region, I think Bawumia has peaked at 66%, both in the field, telephone, and as well as the one we did for candidate special. That has been his maximum. We expect that if nothing changes, I think his max will be around 68%. And the rest will be shared between John Mahama and Alan Sematin and Nana Kwame Bediako. I think that is the biggest blow to Bawumia because Ashanti region has a volume. And the more they trend towards Bediako and Alan, the more difficult it will be for Bawumia.
I see. But what could be the attraction here? What could be the pull factor when it comes to the Nana Kwame Bediako and the Ashanti region?
It is the age, the age, and also he's backed by a lot of people who are disgruntled MPP voters. Those guys in the, I will not discuss my party, they are the people that he's really getting support from, and also voting voters. He's not really getting his backing from MPP base, but he's getting his support from disgruntled MPP people and also voting voters.
Indeed. Just before we let you go, Musa, let's talk about methodology for this one. You said some things earlier. Unfortunately, I didn't hear you. But you're saying this is different from what you released in the last 2 weeks. So let's talk about the sample. Where did you collect it? How many people were in the sample? And why is this accurate?
I mean, there were nearly 1,600 people in the sample. And this sample was collected from the field initially. People who said they are MPP or they are NDC or they are floating voters or they are for other parties and those who don't disclose. So the sample that we take, we align a quota for each party based on the national average of party affiliation. So nationally, we believe MPP is around 34%, NDC 32%. So the samples are based on these proportions of party affiliation.
Well, Musa, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much. Musa Dankwa is Executive Director for Global Info Analytics. You can be sure we'll bring you more on this in subsequent broadcasts. But remember, we are your election command center. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you more election stories. Don't go away.
You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
We all have that one friend, always by your side for the big moments and ready to assist. He's always got his eyes on the prize and his heart in the right place. Where would we be without our BFF? This season, enjoy all 380 Premier League games with your BFF GoTV. Upgrade or reconnect to GoTV Super Plus for the discounted price of just 265 cedis today. GoTV, love it.
Ah, Auntie Esi. Nada na wonu wata amoba me wa moni maye busasa. Auntie Ama. The pacho me boya nya school mu kwan. Eya university. Na scan year 2005. Anya de amenya. Ti mayi me ntoma same de bro na pepi kakra. No de fama me. O enya su mensu fantoma ne koto fi. Enti wonte se John Dramani Mahama. Ene NDC for say. Se nyame ya adom na Ghana for to abama na. Wo ba. Aba University bia. Technical University, College of Education, Nursing Training, woman academic fees for first year. Hey, free, no stress. Adama ujiti. Akadwen, another matter then there. Auntie Esi. Hey, she, ABM. Was say, enka nebo siana na obo woma omo to school so no. Se na obo ne ba ko a, se wo so obesi ho. E dia ma oma omo to aso no. Ane enya Mr. John Mahama. Ye chame so mu kra ne se. Ye nuanom a omo gidem asabe bread asa. Omo ko school pon no. Wase wo mu nyina wo ba. Eye free. Ane Sioma. Yey. Enka me ko nanka na ye 7 December. Nanka ya to aba na my papa Mahama. Amana be ya president.
Hwe wasit ne moto aba pa. E de sakra ya papa beba wa brabo mu. To aba ma John Mahama ne NDC.
The luckiest.
Star 712 hash.
Luck is everywhere.
8K. Hey, you get an 8K. Get a packing so you have to come out. Wallah. Hey, wait.
You go put it on his tab. This is my man.
Good luck. We'll wait here. We have star 712. It's much more phone. I'm on dialing the magic numbers. Star 712. Now welcome to the luckiest. And now wait me at ticket. You can buy for yourself or your loved one.
Mommy, tell mommy who's here.
You're buying for me, right?
Or who else?
Oh.
Let's choose buy tickets for others.
Love you, boo boo.
So, maybe straight to option 4. Now, you need to buy tickets worth 50 Ghana to qualify. Yes, you can buy random or preferred tickets. I'm choosing random tickets. Listen, if you buy the random ticket, the system chooses a random number for you. But if you buy the preferred, you get to input your own preferred 5 digits. 5.
Baby, give me your 5 numbers.
And how much are we buying?
Babe, look at the body and buy you.
With your body,
Hey,
there we are. Tread cautiously. Now follow the prompts and prepare. Now the luckiest.
The luckiest is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform, not for persons below 18 years. T&Cs apply.
This is the show that brings finality to all the critical issues. It is the stage where all the facts are checked, issues thoroughly interrogated, opinions shaped, and debates settled. But over here, we do more than just talk. We resolve problems. We hold those in power accountable. We address all the key happenings in society, from politics to health to education to everything you deem important. And we will center the voice of the ordinary Ghanaian. This is the show that sets the agenda.
Agenda shows Mondays at 9 p.m. on TV3.
TV3, first in news. Results.
Celebrating our people, our culture, and our peace is the 3 Concert 2024, the Peace Edition. Join us as we pledge to support a peaceful election with the most epic celebration of the different genres that make Ghanaian music truly unique. Join us on the 23rd of November at Good Park behind the Accra Mall with exciting performances from the maestro Kojo Entry, Kofi Kinata, Camino, Darko Vibes, Calvin Boy, and more to be announced. Register for your free ticket by calling 0532 200-927. See you on the 23rd of November at Good Park for the 3 Concert, the Peace Edition.
A reminder, this is your election command center. We're continuing to follow the key activities as they happen for you here on TV3. Let's start this particular segment from the camp of the NDC, whose flag bearer, as we know, has been touring parts of the Upper West region. That's not the focus for this afternoon's conversation, as we've got updates on that already. But he's been speaking and condemning the violence which ensued yesterday in part of Mamobi when supporters of the NDC and the NPP clashed. We know that the police is on a manhunt for individuals they believe were wielding weapons and guns, to be specific. John Mahama has been speaking in that regard, and amongst many other things has been asking the police to arrest the perpetrators. We can hear from John Mahama.
I saw what happened the other day in Mamobi, and I hear it was the result of health walks. The two opposing parties were holding health walks or something, and then there was a clash somewhere. But even if there was a clash, I mean, maybe it might not have led to the loss of lives. But people had weapons, and they fired shots and injured people. The reason why this continues is because there's impunity. Those who have those weapons know that nothing will happen to them. They will do it and get away with it because they are operatives of the system. They are people who belong to the political establishment. I saw one clear picture of one of them holding his pistol. Just watch, nothing will happen to them. And as long as nothing happens to them, it will continue. And that's why often I say that the moral voice of society must be heard. And the moral voice of society resides in our chiefs, our religious leaders, our civil society organizations. It's not that these people are not known. The people are known. The society knows those who fired those shots and injured those people. But again, like Ayawasu West Wagon, even if a commission of inquiry is set and says these people should be dealt with, government won't deal with them. And as long as that government doesn't deal with them, others will be emboldened to do the same thing. And so I feel a bit helpless about it. The point is, we are peace-loving, but it gets to a time when people must defend themselves. And if this continues, a time will come, others would also arm themselves with guns, and it will become a shootout. When it becomes a shootout, more people will be killed. In this case, the shooting was in one direction. And so all those who were injured were on one side. But like I'm saying, if impunity develops and it continues, a time will come, people will realize that the state cannot protect them. And when people realize the state cannot protect them, then they take measures to defend themselves. And when that happens, we really would have a bloodbath. And so there's the time for all of us to speak out. Those who were identified to have shot people, were armed, should be arrested and dealt with by the law. If people know that you'll be arrested and dealt with by the law, they will refrain from doing what they do.
That's John Mahama speaking about the clashes yesterday. Komla Kluche is with him. Let's get a bit more from him and what appears to be a frustrated John Mahama about the incident and his demand for urgent police action. Komla, many thanks for joining us this afternoon. So it does come off that he's not pleased with what happened, is expecting the police to be able to act. His demeanor came off as one who was a bit frustrated, you'd say.
To the extent that he describes it as the shooting was towards one direction. And from my reading, that could mean that the direction of supporters of his party, the NDC, that amounts to the frustration that has been expressed by the flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama. But he equally talked about impunity. And to the extent that the people who are doing this or who have done this are emboldened, to the extent that they know they would get away with it, it's the more reason. But the call is on society and people who speak on morality and issues concerning the state to rise up and speak on this. But effectively, the police administration or state security apparatus must take urgent action on this matter. It appears it's something that is not going to leave anytime soon. This comment he made just a short while ago at a meeting with the Regional House of Chiefs, where he's been selling to them his 120-day social contract with the people. Things he intends to do, the 25-point agenda, he intends to carry out within 120 days if he secures the mandate of the people. And so this issue came up as well whilst he was advancing that course to which the chiefs have expressed confidence and hope in him. Mind you, the Upper West region is a region the NDC can confidently say is a safe region for them. Looking at the number of seats they have, 9 out of 11 they do have. And so the enthusiasm for him, yes, is great, even though he agrees that for the past 8 years, it appears that the government has done virtually nothing in the Upper West region.
Just on that Mamobi incident, raises concerns about election security. Is that also something he's been speaking to as to what this could mean come December 7 and the policing of the elections come December 7?
He hasn't spoken about this in a very long while. The last time he spoke about election security had to do with the anniversary of the Ayawaso West Wogonba election. And that was the very last time. But for this to emerge, and he's been speaking about the last time he spoke on that particular incident, he said that that dress rehearsal, or that whole incident was a dress rehearsal going into the 2020 election. And after that, there hasn't been any issue or there hasn't been any adverse findings and also some adequate compensation paid to victims. But if this is beginning to bring its head up again, it does appear that he would be revisiting that script. Mind you, he has not been satisfied with the state and the state security apparatus on the handling of the Ayawaso West Wogon. So this would equally be a classical example. But this is even before election. That the election day is not in yet. But from the handlers around him, they are raising issues about some of these things. And if the police administration, national security, do not stand firm, this would be a major event for the 2024 general election.
Right then, Komla, many thanks for those details. That's Komla Kluche, is a man with the John Mahama campaign team. As Mr. Mahama has been commenting on the violence which ensued yesterday. 9 persons, we understand, been left injured following clashes between supporters of the opposition NDC and the governing New Patriotic Party. We can bring you now by the numbers.
Today on By the Numbers, we explore the impact of voter turnout on the outcomes of Ghana's elections. With a generally increasing trajectory of registered voters in the country, the voter turnout seems to decline every time there is a change in government, from whether it's from the NPP to the NDC or vice versa, after an 8-year rule. Let's get to the screens now. Mawena is already there for us. He'll tell us what the figures are saying. What do you have today?
Right, so like you've rightly stated, there's an interesting relationship every time there's a major election which results in the government or the baton switching hands from one government to the other. I'll take you through that, but I first want us to establish in terms of registered voters between...
Oh, where did that go?
Yes, just a moment. Just a moment. It's going to return shortly.
Now, as you may well know, we've been asking for ballot statistics from the Electoral Commission. Now they're in, but we want to show you the trends that we've seen.
What the trends have been in terms of registered voters. And this year we'll have the highest ever number, almost 19 million registered voters. But since 2000, we've hovered around 10 million up until 2020, where we had 17 million registered voters. This was early projections, but now we've seen the data from the Electoral Commission detailing polling stations, over 40,000 polling stations, which elections will take place in for this year's election, and what the voting numbers look like. And so this 18.7 number is going to go up a notch higher because the voting numbers are now 19 million plus. Now, what does it say in terms of the numbers that we've seen in terms of registered voters and what the transitions have been like, particularly in years where power changes hands from 2000, 2008, and then 2016? The trend suggests that before every elections where power changes hands, we sort of see an increase in terms of valid votes cast, as was seen in 96, 2004, 2012, and a case can be made for 2020 because if the cycle of what we've seen since 96 is anything to go by, and the rating agencies and the pollsters and what they've been saying is anything to go by, this could be a year where power could change hands. And so we've seen that trajectory. But interestingly, during the elections which saw a change in government, we saw the valid votes drop quite significantly. 6.6 million as against 7.3 million in 1996. We recorded 6.6 million in 2020. In 2000, I should say. In 2004, we had 8.8 million. There was a 200,000 drop in 2008, which saw the Mills administration take over. John Mahama won by first touch victory in 2012, but in 2016 he lost, and President Akufo-Addo got a first touch victory, but there was a significant drop in terms of valid votes cast. That number rose significantly to 12.9 million, where we had 17 million registered voters, but we had 12.9 million valid votes cast. It begs the question whether or not we would see a drop in terms of the valid vote cast. And there's a lot of argument that goes into why we continue to see this trend, apathy being one of the many things where people grow tired of the incumbent government, where their supporters do not come out to vote in their numbers, which affects the valid votes. That's a theory that's been propounded. We wait to see if that becomes a reflection. And it's an argument that's going into this particular election where the suggestion is that the governing New Patriotic Party will struggle to whip up interest in its base and all of that. And so these and more are the dynamics as we go into December 7, 2024, and we'll look forward to what the numbers will be like after December 7.
Absolutely. And when we go back to the previous slide, we would also want to bring into the fray that in each of these years we have seen an increase, whether it be a large or a slight increase in the population growth as well.
But for 2004, it's been a continuous increase.
Absolutely. And 18.7 million plus 2% adjustment, the Electoral Commission is predicting. Over 19 million people on the voter roll.
People on the voter
Are we?
That's
we really have
33 million people in the country. Interesting dynamic.
Anyway, that's it for By the Numbers. Moina, thank you so much for always bringing us the numbers. When we come back, we'll take you to court, where the anti-Galamsey protesters have returned to be arraigned. We'll hear what's happening today when we join our court correspondent, Lord Edu Asare.
Over 5 million children have benefited from free SHS. Protect free SHS. Vote Dr. Baumia, #1 on the ballot.
With Showmax, your favorite characters now follow you anywhere. Download it today and watch the best in local, international, and everything in between.
This October to December, King's Furniture says, "Thank you, Ghana." Enjoy a whopping 25% off on all our domestic kitchen, wardrobes, and sofas. Upgrade your home with the finest furniture, crafted right here in Ghana. And for your office, we're offering 20% discount on all office furniture because your workspace deserves the best. Whether it's for home or office, now's the time to make your space truly yours and give the gift of comfort and style to your loved ones. Hooray! Promo is from October 1st and ends December 31st, 2024. Visit King's Furniture Showroom today and enjoy these incredible discounts. Locate us in Accra, Kisima, adjacent Melco and Takrade, Tanokrum, Pipeline, right opposite Connect FM, or call us on 050-150-5507 Accra and 050-133-2327. King's Furniture sets a standard, and a big thank you to Ghana.
He have not shown sign of settling down. Oh, you don't mean it. How about to deliver Isabella?
I might have a solution.
You take this and spray twice. Shake the gentleman. Place it on your lips and say the magic word. Yes. You, my darling, are unlucky in love.
Phoenix Club,
uplifting women.
Phoenix Club,
uplifting
I
women.
mean Phoenix Club,
uplifting women.
Thank you very much for having me here today. The nation builder John Mahama and Professor Nana Jane are bringing you the Women's Development Bank. Whoa. It is a very special bank run by only women, to serve only women. The aim is to empower millions of women across the country. The bank will have branches all over the nation to provide you with loans with very low interest and on very flexible terms.
Madam, I run a small makeup and nail bar. Do I qualify for a loan?
No need to bother, my sister. I mean hairdressers, market women, women-owned online businesses, female graduates, women in the corporate world, traders, agri, women in all fields qualify for loans. With John Mahama and Professor Nana Jane at the helm, the Ghanaian woman will surely rise.
Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
And we're returning to the conversation in relation to Galamsey, this time with the Democracy Hub protesters who've returned to court today, and they are making one simple demand, that the prosecution drops the case if they don't have evidence to prosecute it. Let's listen to Felicity Nelson, one of the conveners of Democracy Hub.
Charges need to be dropped. It's not just about us having to come into court every week. And, you know, because listen, it's been 22 days so far since I was arrested, and the prosecution has not been able to get their stuff together, get their evidence together, do all the things they need to do. Every time we come to court, there's something they failed to do. Why is it this thing? If they had all the evidence, they were able to arrest people. Why have they not been able to provide all the evidence, hand everything, do everything speedily? Every time we come to court, they're asking for extra time. People have jobs. There's people who don't even live in Accra. They live in Takoradi. So every week they're having to travel to Accra just to come to court. What is this? Why are you treating citizens like this?
That's Felicity Nelson. Lord Edwasara was in court for us. Lord, what reasons did prosecutors give the circuit court judge in asking for more time?
Well, Marina, they didn't exactly think. They just indicated that they haven't been able to file all their disclosures. Now, prior to that, the court had ordered for them to file their witness statement one and then file all their disclosures before today. But when the case was called, the prosecution led by Nana Kosia indicated to the court that they haven't been able to do so. They filed some, but that's not the total offense. So they wanted another adjournment for this to be done. Now, and that was what brought Felicity Nelson's sentiment there. Another thing which happened was that another accused person, the ninth accused person by name Thomas Saboba, per his lawyers, have indicated that although he's been granted bail, he remains in police custody because it appears he's incoherent, and so they haven't been able to get any surety, so for anybody to stand surety for him to be granted bail. And they indicated to the court that the prosecution are aware of this because on the first day when the case was called, they indicated to the prosecution that Thomas Saboba is not mentally sound, and so they actually wanted the charges to be dropped since he wasn't even part of the prosecution in the first place. Now, at this point, the presiding judge indicated to the prosecution that their role is to prosecute and not persecute, and so told them or urged them to, as they were, do a psychological evaluation so they can know what to do from then onwards. Either he'll be discharged or they'll move on with the prosecution minor.
And so when next are they expected in court?
Because Oliver is still in police custody, and if you recall, there's been an order by the High Court for the case to be heard on a daily basis if they can. So they'll be back in court on Friday, but the other steps which involves Rafael Williams will be back on November 7th. Oliver is still in police custody and has not been granted bail as we speak, Marina.
Right then, Lord, many thanks for all those details. That's Lord Edwasara, is my colleague, providing a bit more from the courts for us this afternoon. In other related Galamsey stories, a chief has been arraigned also in the Ashanti region for invading a mining concession. We'll bring you details of that if you log on to 3news.com as well. You find full details of that as well. As we wrap up this afternoon's edition of the bulletin for you, let's quickly scan and join that 3 News WhatsApp channel. That's where you find all things news related from us here at TV3. That story I mentioned about a chief currently in the grips of the police because of alleged illegal mining. You find that on 3news.com and on our 3 News WhatsApp channel. And that's how you get to be a part of the 3 News WhatsApp channel. Pick up your smartphone, scan that code, join it, be a part of a big growing family, and continue to catch the news as it comes through. That's our bulletin for you this afternoon for the start of the week. I am Mawina Igbeta.
And I am Kemeni Amano. Next year's The Afternoon Show with Godwin and Anita. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Bye for now.